Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. I do have one quick favor before we get to the video that you came here for, and that is very simply this. You see that little red subscribe button below this video? Go ahead, smash that subscribe button. It really does help me. It really does help this channel grow and my audience grow. So go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. And now, here is the video that you came here for. On Monday night when the job opened up, I just put out a generic list of candidates. It was on Aaron Torres Online, put up a little video on YouTube. What I want to do today, though, is go a little more in depth. And I don't just want to give you the names, although I will give you some names. But what I want to do is give you the three guys that I would call if I was USC's AD today, okay? They're not necessarily the three names that USC will call, but these are the guys that I will call. Then I'll go through a little bit of each candidate outside of these three, kind of just discuss them, their strengths and weaknesses. I'll give you a couple that I actually don't think are in the mix that are listed as being in the mix, but that is the plan. Let's get into it. And so drum roll, please. If Aaron Torres was the USC AD, his first call, it'd be to Urban Meyer. And I know a lot of people are going to laugh, and I know a lot of the cool NFL insiders say he's not interested, and the cool college football insiders say he wouldn't do it. I'd give him a call. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. Maybe I'd wait till an especially bad game against an especially good opponent in which the Jacksonville Jaguars get destroyed. Then maybe I give him a call. Maybe it's not today. Maybe it's not tomorrow. Maybe it's, I don't know. They play, the Seahawks on Halloween night. How about, Urban Meyer flying back from Seattle, gets a little text from a 310 area code. Wonder who that could be. Oh, it's me, Aaron Torres, the USC AD. Why is that? It's simple. He's one of the greatest college coaches to ever do it. And he is simply not built for the NFL. You can argue it. You can debate it. You can say it's only one game. You guys all watched that game on Sunday just like I did. Urban Meyer is not built for the NFL. Never forget, this is a guy that when he coached college football, he was physically ill losing one game a year. One game a year, Urban Meyer physically could not take it, and that was in a sport where probably if they played 13 games, in 12 of them, he had a significant talent advantage over his opponent. Now he's in the NFL, where he's probably going to go, 3-14. He has the least talented roster in the NFL. They just lost to the second worst team in the NFL, and it wasn't even close. And if you saw Urban Meyer on the sidelines, he's not cut out for this. This guy is not a big picture 5 to 7 year guy. This guy is a come in, fix it, get it to the top, and then leave 3-4 years later kind of guy. That's how he's always been, and that's how he will be. He is not built for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He is not built for the NFL. He is not built to go 3-14 this year, then 6-11 next year, then the following year they make the playoffs, and then they're ready for the Super Bowl year 4. No, he wants to win right now, and I think he's gonna realize about halfway through this season that he is not cut out for the NFL. A couple, and by the way, I would also add, if Urban Meyer actually got the USC head coaching job, it would be instant fix it, because you look at the USC roster right now, maybe they're not quite as talented as Oregon, but they're not far behind. And if this guy can win a national championship in year 2 at Florida in the SEC and can go undefeated in his first year at Ohio State, they were not eligible for bowl season that year, he could have USC, I truly believe, in the college football playoff conversation by year 2. He is that good. The questions, of course, are simple. They're twofold. How do you get him out of an NFL contract in the middle of the season, especially because the NFL season goes into January? And, obviously you want to hire this guy by the middle of December at the latest. What I would say is this. It's simple. You call him up, you call his agent up, you let him know, look, man, it's not working out. This isn't for you. Come back to college. We have a place for you. And you might have to sneak out the side door. It might be unpopular. You might get criticized on social media for a day or two. You know who else got criticized? Nick Saban with the Miami Dolphins, who said, I will never take the Alabama job, and then took the Alabama job 4 days later, whatever it was. Well, Nick Saban got crushed, and then a funny thing happened. He came to Bama, won a bunch of national championships. Now he's a freaking icon. And so if you're USC's administration, you just say, look, man, I understand you made a commitment to this team, to this organization, to this program, but it isn't working out. Come in, come to us, let us know. We are here. You're my number one choice. You're the guy that I want. Come to USC and build us back into a power. The only other issue I could see, by the way, is a legitimately big one. Historically, a few years ago, when Clay Helton almost lost this job, there was a report that the new USC president, Folt is her name, was not keen on bringing in Urban Meyer after the way that he left Ohio State, covered up some, alleged domestic disturbances, things of that nature. I would just say this. I don't want to make light of what happened at Ohio State. Don't want to do any of that. What I would also say is a school president has a certain say, but the most important person at USC is not the school president. It is the football coach. And there is enough money at that school. There are enough boosters. There are enough donors where you get the right group of donors on one side that wants Urban Meyer, they can flip that school president really quick, or she ain't going to be the school president for very long. So to me, Urban Meyer is the clear-cut number one. I don't even think it's a debate. And then it just becomes a question of whether you can get him to leave the NFL after less than one season. If Urban Meyer says no, I'll tell you who I like. Number one guy, Urban Meyer says no, staying in the NFL, James Franklin. James Franklin is the answer to me. And I know there are guys that have more natural ties to Mike Bond, more ties to USC, James Franklin would kill it at USC. First of all, I think James Franklin, because he has not won, or because he has not gone to a playoff, I think people forget how good this guy is, okay? First of all, took Vanderbilt to back-to-back 9-win seasons at Vanderbilt, okay? That has literally never been done in the modern era, will probably never be done again at Vanderbilt. They just lost to East Tennessee State the other night. James Franklin won 9 games in back-to-back seasons at Vanderbilt. He comes to Penn State, and again, because of the fact that he hasn't made the playoff, people think he's not, like these are his last, take out COVID last year. COVID was weird. His last 4 years before COVID, 11-3 in 2016, 11-2 in 2017, 9-4 in 2018, 11-2 in 2019. 3 11-win seasons in 4 years before COVID, 1 Big Ten championship. They should have made the playoff that year. They got screwed because Ohio State got in over them, even though they beat Ohio State. This guy is a rock star. And I think James Franklin, a couple things. One, I think he's going to have to look really hard at the landscape at Penn State after this season. Maybe this is the year that he topples Ohio State. And I think there's a possibility, by the way. I think there's a possibility that they might actually be the best team in the Big Ten. Maybe there is a possibility that he topples Ohio State. Maybe there's a possibility that he wins the Big Ten, gets Penn State to the playoff. But if he doesn't, if this is the year that he can't get past Ohio State, I think he really has to consider leaving. Because if he can't get past Ohio State in a year where Ohio State has a first-year quarterback who had never started a game coming into this year and a defense that is clearly a mess, I don't think he ever will. And so at some point, I think he's got to be realistic and say, rather than banging my head up against the wall every year trying to beat Ohio State, let me go out to USC and create my own Ohio State in the Pac-12 at USC. And that's what I believe he would do. He's a dynamic recruiter. And on top of that, the reason why I like James Franklin the most, he's got pizzazz to him, man. And there's some other really good candidates that we'll get into in a minute. Luke Fickell, Matt Campbell, even Mario Cristobal. Who knows if they would take it, if they wouldn't. But the point that I'm bringing up is he has the personality to make USC the cool school again, okay? At USC, it's not just enough to win. You have to win. First of all, you got to win, which Clay Helton didn't do. But you got to win with flair. You got to win with pizzazz. You got to win with energy. You got to take over this town. And no disrespect to Luke Fickell or Matt Campbell or whoever, they don't have that in them. James Franklin has that in him, and I believe he can make USC the cool, fun school again, and I do think that matters. I'll tell you a quick side story. I've told this story, I think, before, but I had a buddy who used to be an assistant coach of UNLV basketball, okay? And he told me once, he goes, the problem with this job, everything is compared to Jerry Tarkanian's days. We're never going to be that again, but in this town, it's not enough to just win. We got to win scoring 90 points, up and down, shooting threes, having a good time. We can't just win. We have to be entertaining. We have to be bigger than the sport itself, and that's how I feel USC football is. And so to me, James Franklin is the guy that can bring it to USC. It's worth mentioning his name has been eternally linked to this job. I believe it was actually first linked when Steve Sarkisian got the job in 2013. I know when Sark was fired, James Franklin's name came up. That was when he was first starting to build Penn State. Over the last couple of years, when Clay Helton has been on the hot seat, James Franklin has been a name that has been increasingly brought up over those last couple of years. Some people will say he's not interested. I'm just telling you, he's had a million chances to deny interest. He hasn't done it yet. Also worth noting, Tuesday he was asked about it at his actual press conference, the opening. You know what he said? I don't like distractions. I'm going to talk to my team about distractions. That's all I said. No denial. No, I'm happy here. No, this is my job for the rest of my career. He said, I don't talk about distractions in the middle of the season. Maybe it meant something. I think it meant I don't want to talk about this job because I would sneak out the side door to take it. So if Urban Meyer says no, James Franklin's my number 2. And at number 3, I do think it's Luke Fickell. And for people who do not know, who are not familiar, Luke Fickell is, of course, the head coach at Cincinnati. He has built a power at Cincinnati. 11 win seasons in 2018 and 2019. Last year, an undefeated regular season and a Peach Bowl appearance against Georgia where they nearly beat them. They have a huge game against Indiana this week. And for people who don't really understand the tie, Luke Fickell, Luke Fickell was hired at Cincinnati by Mike Bond, who is currently the USC AD. So USC's AD was previously at Cincinnati. He hires Luke Fickell. Now bring Luke Fickell to USC. Because in my mind, Luke Fickell's not the perfect fit. He's not super dynamic. He's not super interesting. But this guy knows how to build a program. He knows how to create discipline within a program. And I believe he is a guy that could have success at USC. He obviously has ties. He's another one that didn't really deny interest on Tuesday at his media availability. Now the Cincinnati fans will say he'll never leave. And maybe he won't. It is worth noting with Luke Fickell, Cincinnati is going to the Big 12. Cincinnati is potentially going to be in a position in a 12-team college football playoff to routinely make the college football playoff. But what I would also say is it's a little bit of a James Franklin vibe that I just described. Because Cincinnati is always going to be the number 2 school in the state of Ohio. They're never going to get better recruits than Ohio State. And at some point, I think he's going to keep banging his head against the wall and say, you know what? I just don't think at this point it's worth it for me to seriously consider staying here forever, because there are jobs that are going to put me in a better position to ultimately reach my goal, win national championships. We will see. It's worth noting he is a Midwest guy. He has never left the Midwest footprint except for 1 year where he was the head coach when he played for the New Orleans Saints. Outside of that, he has lived in Ohio his entire career, played at Ohio State, assistant at Ohio State and Akron, now the head coach at Cincinnati.